Good morning. Do you guys hear that music? That's Eric B. for President. Now, I know some of you in the room, you may think Jay-Z is the greatest rapper, but Rakim is the original God MC, and that's like the best song ever. So whenever I hear that song, I get excited. So good morning, everybody. How we doing? So I'm here to talk to you about a winner's mentality. And before I talk to you about a winner's mentality, how many people in the room have ever failed? Let me see your hands. So, failure is not fatal, and it is not final, right? Because you're still here, so you know it wasn't fatal, it didn't kill you. And because I'm expecting that failure, that experience, didn't stop your life, nor was it final. So what I want to talk to you about is how you develop a winner's mentality. But before we talk about the winner's mentality, I'm going to walk you through what I consider to be the framework that makes you a loser. Any psychologists or people that studied psychology in the room? Okay. So you'll be able to validate what I'm about to say, because what serves as the foundation for the mentality that makes you a loser is a phrase that I learned while I was working on my master's degree in organizational leadership, which is called learned helplessness. Now, learned helplessness was very interesting to me because so many people that you meet don't realize that they're afflicted with this quote-unquote disease. Right? You meet people and they say, I just can't do anything. I just can't make a difference. I'm stuck. And it's because, one, they make everything personal. One of the first symptoms of learned helplessness is every time something goes wrong, it's against them personally. It's like there's a conspiracy against them personally, and they personalize every experience. So if you meet a person that is personalizing everything, they are in the beginnings of learned helplessness, and that starts to set the foundation for a losing mentality. The second thing is it's pervasive, which means everywhere they look, they see a problem against them. Nothing is working. Everything is broken. Everything is against them. Everybody is against them. And I never catch a break. They speak in absolute terms about everything. And so there's no place where it's working. And then finally, went the wrong way. Finally, it's permanent. They don't see the opportunity for it to change. Now, why was this important? Why was I in a class learning about this? And it's because I had spent the better part of 25 years building my corporate career. And I had risen to the point where I was an executive in a Fortune 10 company. And then, due to no fault of my own, they decided to sell my division, which meant my job went away. Now, here I am. I'm north of 45 years old, have a wife, have a daughter, and my job is eliminated. Now, by God's grace, I have a great CV, so I'm figuring I'll be back to work real soon. So I decide I'm going to take the summer off, hang out with my baby girl, and then, once the fall comes, I'll go on some job interviews, and I'll have a job before Thanksgiving. Well, that's not how it worked. I ended up being out of work for 19 months. Now, the good news is I didn't miss a meal. I didn't miss a bill. We went on vacation because, I'm a finance guy. So if I don't know how to take care of my money, we got a real big problem, right? So I know how to take care of my money. But the challenges in that process could have made me break, but they didn't. And it was because I had a mentality that processed the experience differently than what was presented to me. Now, I felt like it was personal, right? You go on job interviews, and it's personal when they say no, right? You ask for the job, and they go, we're going a different direction, or no, you're not the right fit, whatever. You can take it personal. But what I was able to do in framing my response to these experiences was come up with a philosophy that I practiced. And the first thing that, a philosophy is just how you know what you know. It's knowledge. And what I put into practice was putting things into perspective. And if you don't practice putting experiences into perspective, then the experiences can start to define you versus you defining the experience. So example, I go to one of the world's leading insurance companies and we're talking, and I'm sitting down with a guy and he's going through my CV and he's telling me, yes, you have this set of skills, yes, you have this leadership experience, yeah, you delivered these results. He goes, but we'd like to think about offering you a role, but at a number that was less than what I felt my value was. And so he said to me, he goes, well, Mark, you're in a place where you've been out of work a little bit, you might want to think about a discount. And I said, no, we don't do discounts. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, when you've been working 25 years consistently like I have, and you can't afford to take a break, you've done something wrong. And I said, I can assure you, I've done nothing wrong, and so there will be no discounts. This is what I'm worth. And he says, well, we can't fit you into the budget. I said, well, when you can, let's talk. Now, that's big talk when you have a wife and you have a mortgage, and but I knew what I was worth and I wasn't willing to compromise. And so that's like September of 2016. So go on another couple of interviews, get a bunch of no's. So here we go. We get to November of 16, and I'm still not working, and it's Thanksgiving time. Now, in finance, if you're not hired by Thanksgiving, you might as well just forget about the rest of the year, because it's the fourth quarter, nobody's going to hire you, right? So I'm like, I dial it down, and then I go, well, if I'm not working by January, I'm not going to be working till April, because nobody's going to leave until bonus comes. Financial services is bonus time, so nobody's leaving till bonuses come. So I said, you know what? I'm in a situation that I've never been in before. I need to do some things I've never done before. And so you can't see now, but that picture that you saw, I think you can see it's a little different, me now, than that picture, by about 50 pounds or so. And you'll hear later from my wife, who runs a program about detoxing. I just decided January of 17, I'd do her detox. And because I wasn't going to work, so I committed to my friends and family. The motto, I said, I'm not going to be out of work and out of shape at the same time, right? You could be one or the other, but you can't be both, right? When I was working hard, I'm like, listen, the reason I'm out of shape is because I don't have time to go to the gym, because I'm running this organization, and I can't be getting to the gym because I got to be to work early, got to be to work late. And, it's an excuse, but at least you can accept that excuse because I was working. I had no excuse if I'm not working, right? So I'm getting up every day, riding my bike, working out, eating the way this woman, well, it looks like I'm eating, but it's not really food, right? And so I'm losing weight and dropping weight, getting in shape. And that was all part of putting things into perspective. Because I knew that although the odds looked like they were stacked against me, the probabilities were in my favor. Because ultimately, things can't continue to go wrong forever. Things can't stay bad forever. Things can't stay broken forever. And so I knew that the more I'd ask, the more opportunities I put myself in front of, I increased the odds of me being successful. So rather than give up, I leaned into the experiences of going on interviews and sending out resumes and inviting people to coffee and inviting people to dinner and having people hear my story. And what was interesting is, I got laid off. My job ended on June 10th, 2016, right? You remember these dates. These are like dates that change your life, and you never forget these dates. So June 10th, 2016, my job ended. Now, there's a guy who's a mentor to me, and when he knew my job was going away, he told me, he said, like, Mark, don't worry. I am your floor. Nothing will happen. I got you. And this was a guy who was instrumental in my career at GE, and so he helped me become an executive. So I had reason to believe that this was going to happen. So on June 24th, 2016, I went to meet for a role that he told me to go interview for. Went on that interview, and exactly 18 months later is when the job came through. Same company, same CFO, 18 months later. And the thing that's amazing is, if God would have told me, hey, I'm going to give you an 18-month break, enjoy it, I'd have been all game, right? But in the beginning, he doesn't tell you the ending, and so it's the middle where most people struggle. And it's in the middle of going from where it is to where it's going to be that you have to maintain your perspective that the probabilities are always in your favor. No matter how it looks, the odds, though they're stacked, each time you go and put yourself in a position to do something positive, to express your gift, talent, skill, and ability, you're increasing the likelihood that you're going to be successful. So stopping in the middle is how you drown. That's how you die. That's how you lose momentum, is when you stop pressing the issue. But as long as you maintain the perspective that the probabilities are working in your favor, as long as you stay engaged in a process, then and only then do you start to get to a place where you can see the promise and the potential of your life. See, in learned helplessness, it's personal, it's pervasive, and it's permanent. But when you practice a philosophy of power, you know that if you maintain your perspective, that it's not just you, it's the job market. And the job market is influenced by macroeconomics, microeconomics, industry. Did age play a role? Am I too expensive? If I was willing to take a discount, would I work earlier? Absolutely. All those things have to be brought into the mix to maintain a perspective that gives you hope about your future. And what this process also did was force me, like Erica, right? I'm not working, so then I decided to go back to school. And while I'm going back to school, I'm thinking about all the skills that I've developed in my corporate career. And what I realized is I have become highly skilled at being an employee. And that's not bad. Most of you in the room have been, will be, or currently are employees. Nothing wrong with being an employee. But what I realized is there's a mindset and a skill set when you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, and an employer that employees don't have. And that pause in my professional life gave me the opportunity to think about where the gaps in my skills were and how might I go about closing them. And so there's something that I got involved in. 2 weeks from now, I'll have a different conversation. So Char will have to have me back next year to tell you about how this works. But there's something my wife and I are working on that's going to be pretty phenomenal, pretty important, not only to our current day, but generationally. But it was because I was in this season of pause that I had to explore where my gaps were, and it triggered me to look into things that I never would have looked into. And now we're on the precipice of something that will have significant wealth creation opportunities that I can control. Nobody can fire me from this thing. No other person's decision will disrupt my economic engine the way this last thing did. And so I'm thankful that I went through the season because it seasoned me to think differently, to respond differently, to prepare differently. And so I didn't get personal. I didn't think it was pervasive because even while I was being turned down from different jobs, my family was working well, my friendships were working well, my relationships with people were going well, so everything wasn't bad. It was this employment place that was bad, and I had to keep that in perspective. And then I had to work through the probabilities of, well, how many times am I going to be told no? I probably literally got told no 10 times, 12 times. And this is from a person who's not used to being told no. Like, I get jobs, like people call me and say, hey, Mark, we want to promote you. This is what I was used to. Hey, Mark, you've only been in this role 6 months, but we see your leadership, so now we're ready to move you to another job. And at GE, in my first 3 years, I must have had 6 jobs because they kept promoting me. And so I was used to having people pursue me, not having to pursue a role. So being in that position, I was like, it can't stay this way. Like, not only am I too good, God is too good. Life is too good. My experiences are too good. Companies have too many bad leaders for my good leadership not to get picked up. It's got to happen. I just have to stay persistent. I just have to persevere. I just have to go through, because I knew the promise and the potential in my life would eventually win out over the circumstance. I wasn't going to let the circumstance dictate to me. I was going, to the best of my ability, impose my will on the circumstances. And so, as I wrap up and conclude, what I would tell you is everything you face in life is a process. Everything. And it's a process that is preparing you for what has already been prepared for you. You have to be prepared for certain things that are prepared for you. And I'll close with this story. So I have and hopefully you guys will meet her. I have a little girl. She's 6 years old. Her name is Nia. Nia means purpose. And if you know anything about the Monroe family, that's kind of like a word they trademarked, right? Purpose. And so she's named after the inspiration of the influence that Pastor Miles and Mama Ruth had on my life. And so we named her Nia because she was born on purpose, with a purpose, because of purpose. And she came to us and was like, for her 6th birthday, she came and she said, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go to Disney for my 6th birthday. And we didn't even know, she didn't know that we had already talked about that was something we were going to do for her. And so I told her, I said, well, baby girl, you want to go to Disney, but Disney's expensive and Daddy's not working right now, so you'll have to pray and ask the Lord if you can go to Disney. And so a couple of months goes by and she comes and she starts talking about, when I go to Disney for my 6th birthday. And I'm like, well, baby, I said, Daddy's still not working. How do you know that you're going to Disney? And she said, because the Lord told me. And I said, the Lord told you? I said, you know, she watches a lot of Superbook and, you know, different Christian programming. So I said, what? I said, did he go, Nia? Right? And she starts laughing. And she goes, no, Daddy. He told me in my heart. And I said, what do you mean he told you in your heart? I said, because Daddy's not working. She said, and this is how I know God really did speak to her. She said, Daddy, he told me that you have the money in the bank right now. I can go to Disney. And she wasn't lying. I did have the money in the bank. She could go to Disney. Right? So I tell you that story because she's praying and she's seeking for something that had already been prepared for her. And she didn't need to go through the stress because her parents had already taken care of it. There are things you are stressing about that God has already prepared the provision for. So just rest in the fact that you've done what you need to do, He's done what He needs to do, and what you're looking for is waiting for you. Thank you.